I'm too dumb to enjoy Pokémon Platinum. At least, I was. The first half of the game, I didn't understand why I was struggling so much with it. I was like a Pokémon all out of PP. Cause Pokémon Platinum version is built for tough. Trainers are higher level, their movesets are more advanced, and they're literally smarter than they were in Diamond and Pearl. But it struck me after about 4 gyms. Pokémon Platinum is the first expert mode Pokémon game. Platinum hands you the tools you need to handle its challenges if you know where to look. And I was not looking in the right places at first. The way Diamond and Pearl gatekeep strong Pokémon and don't even let you sniff the many evolution items until halfway through the game is the way of the past. Now, there's evolution stones in the underground, hidden early Dusk and Dawn stones, awkwardly early Rhyperior and Dusk Noir items. Heck, there's 3 upgrades for the gamer who is rich in friends and in Porygons. Return and Earthquake TMs come immediately, and there's a million new Pokémon to use. But I'm jumping the gun. Welcome to my Pokémon Platinum version retrospective. My name is Mothy, Jimothy for long. I've been playing through the Pokémon franchise from the beginning, doing context-heavy playthroughs of each game and performing a little temperature health check on the series with each edition. What does each game make better, what still needs work, that kind of thing. None of my runs are done in a vacuum. I'm big on comparing games with their predecessors to track how certain mechanics have changed over time. How the in-game NPC trades have been slipping in quality since Gen 1, how cracked the department store TM counter is, how sticky and bad the dang bicycle feels. For these third games within a generation, that's Yellow, Crystal, Emerald, and now Platinum, there's obviously less changed from the prior paired releases. So I enjoy these third game videos in a special way. Everything that is changed in a third game was changed very specifically, either to rebalance the gameplay or to justify asking full price for fans to purchase the same video game again. Third games have me zooming in extra close to answer why a thing got changed. If the Pokemon encounters look almost exactly the same in each area, except Meryl's now show up a few routes earlier, well, that was done by somebody for a reason, so you can bet I'm running Meryl on my team for that playthrough to see if maybe it shakes up an earlier gym battle or improves your options for HMs or what. So in this video, I'm going to be scrutinizing what Pokémon Platinum changed from Diamond and Pearl. You might want to check out my excellent Diamond and Pearl video before this if you want a refresher on the Gen 4 experience. But in brief, my 2 main issues from the last games were how many of the new Sinnoh Pokémon were gated until the postgame, it felt like Gen 2 all over again. That and Honeytrees were the worst. So let's play Pokémon Platinum to drive a retrospective, and I'll be sure to talk your ear off about all the nice little improvements as we go. If you have a nice time here today, I would be very grateful for positive interactions on the video. And if you want to catch future retrospectives and challenge runs as they come out, well, then you'll want to subscribe. This channel crossed 50,000 subs while I was working on this, and I'm extremely grateful for all of you who helped me get there. A bigger celebration will be coming. Thanks, y'all. Let's play. Immediately, the trainer PC outfits are much cuter. They fixed the dweeby hat of the male and gave him some stylish jeans, so we're off to a good start. I named my rival Bryson for some reason. I was trying to parody those modern tragedy names, but I don't think I even picked a great example. The UI is still rather slow, so fast text is a must, and so is this frame style that I'm so empathetic that I feel emotionally bad for because nobody else is ever going to use this ugly brown one. It reminds me of gingerbread and Valentine's Day. Outside our house, there's snow on the ground, in one corner of Twin Leaf Town. It's like what they did in Crystal version to make you think that the whole game is going to look and feel different than Gold and Silver. The starting town has a few cosmetic changes, but the game stops bothering pretty fast and everything else looks the same. It's a bait and switch, to be ungenerous. This pretty facade is presented in the beginning, but it's quickly forgotten once the player is hooked and we'll just be wearing our winter outfit through warm, sunny locations all game. The plot for acquiring our first Pokemon has a subtly different tone in Platinum. Instead of borrowing one of Rowan's Pokemon without asking, then him reluctantly letting us keep our starters, this time Rowan takes on a mentorship role and gives us and Bryson our starters because we're good people. It's more similar to all the previous games, except Diamond and Pearl. I choose Turtwig, defeating Bryson's Chimchar, then Mom forwards us to Sand Gym Town to give thanks to Professor Rowan. But first, we get an early preview of Cyrus at Lake Verity. I feel like Cyrus's character was cheapened in Platinum's writing. In Diamond and Pearl, he was a misdirected loner genius who thought he could create paradise, but from the very start here, he's saying, "My name is Evil McEvilVillain, and I'm gonna own all of time and space." He's less complex. Rowan has me name my Turtwig. I went with fairness, a virtue we should all uphold. And we get the Pokédex. We get something else shocking as we go to leave, TM27 Return, given by Rowan at the very beginning of the game. This makes sense flavorfully as a gift from the man who wants to see us grow in friendship with our Pokemon, but it also sets a really high bar for power level right from the start. This is the best move for some Pokemon. We're gonna hold on to it though because Fairness has strong moves within his own types. Get the Bryson's Mom town map parcel and some Dawn tutorials, and we're finally allowed to catch Pokemon. Something I unfortunately won't be doing for a while. My first 2 gyms will be handled in all fairness. Yellow and Crystal versions did a good job at shaking up which Pokemon you could catch and when. Then Emerald barely tried. Well, Platinum did a much better job than any of the prior third games at shaking up Pokemon availability, but they didn't change up the very start of the game too much outside of making Psyducks more common in the Orberg Gate, so it still took a minute before I sought to expand this team. Because overall, Platinum did so much shuffling of Pokemon availability, I'm not going to call out and cover most of those changes. Just know that a chunk of what used to be post-game Swarm or Radar encounters are now available during the campaign. When we reach Jubilife City, we meet an Interpol agent, codename Looker. He's one of the bigger writing changes to Platinum. This man has been monitoring Team Galactic for stealing Pokemon, and he asks us to keep him informed of bad guys before departing. They were so close to this being cool. Instead of having him materialize throughout the game, letting the player ping him on the Pokétch to come arrest Galactics would be so fun. Give us a little agency with it, you know? Instead, he plays a lot like Scott from Emerald, just some guy who shows up throughout the game with nothing happening just to remind us he exists until a small payoff scene in the postgame. A woman gives us the Quick Claw, which goes well on the powerful but slow Fairness. Then it's into the trainer school where we fight a Bidoof and a Starly rather than 2 Abras. The prize for battling has been downgraded from the Hidden Power TM, which I thought was a really cool, smart thing to give us so early, to a potion now. It's minor, but early Hidden Power really is one advantage Diamond and Pearl have over Platinum. Lousy return TM. Acquire the Pokétch, but I don't care much about accumulating apps this time. All I tend to use is the dowsing machine. Gotta get them candies. Then I clear out an early partial route 204 for the XP before exiting east for a second Bryson fight. This comes way too soon after the first, but I like that both of us have had the chance by now to add to our teams. A rival fight slightly after the start of the game is more interesting than one at the literal beginning. Platinum should have removed the earlier fight and just left this one as a mini-boss. I still have Fairness, mostly using Tackle over Absorb because his attack is much higher than special attack, so I'm pleased when I pick up a Razor Leaf, a physical grass move once he dings 13. This is going to be his main attack for most of the game, but he hits hard with it and it touches both opponents in a double battle, so Razor Leaf is not a bad one to be stuck with. You really do gotta catch some Pokemon or your starter will sprint ahead of the level curve in Gen 4. Even with Budew on my team last time, both were bigly overleveled by the time that I fought Rourke. With only Fairness so far on my Platinum run, the effect is even worse. In Diamond and Pearl, you have to catch a Zubat in the Orberg Gate as part of a mini-quest. This time, it's Geodude. So happy they changed this. Then, once in the city of Orberg, I collect all the free balls, showing this man our Geodude for a heal ball. I find it odd that they bothered to change this because, you know what they didn't change? The Kaza trade. I again catch a Machop north of town, then trade it in for Hilary's Abra Kaza. Did anyone use Kazaa back in the day instead of LimeWire? We had one Kazaa kid at our school. Unfortunately, Kaza is exactly the same trade as in Diamond and Pearl. Quiet Nature, Oranberry. And spoiler, the rest of the trades were not changed either. This is the first time Game Freak left the NPC trades untouched in a third game, and it's a big letdown to me. With the looser attitude around Pokemon availability in Platinum, this trade could have given any number of other Pokemon who don't usually show up so early. I think giving a Burmy here would have been a good change. Looting is a little different throughout the whole game in Platinum. Colored shards are much more common as world loot, and for good reason. Instead of trading for weather TMs, those shards in Platinum can be traded with 3 NPC move tutus throughout the game. They have pretty good menus too, it is worth grabbing shards for that. The rest of the Orberg experience is much the same. Retrieve Rourke from the mines, then go challenge the gym. Fairness was level 16 as I started the Rourke fight. While Rourke's first 2 Pokemon were easy work for a grass type, Cranidos outsped me to headbutt for 2/3 of my health. There's not a single thing I could have done against a critical hit here, but luckily Razor Leaf is lethal in 1 turn. Pretty scary for a first gym leader even with all my levels pumped into one Pokemon who is super effective against them. and fairness evolved after the fight. Bryson then forwards us to Eterna City as before, and we get a Looker encounter on the way where he says nothing. Looker failed to discover the Galactic Grunts holding up Professor Rowan, so us and Dawn have to defeat them in battle. The dialogue after this fight is a little more robust in Platinum, but it still amounts to reiterating Bryson's directions to head toward Eterna City. Platinum took away that person who will battle you in the corner of the Jubilife TV station, but hey, I won a lottery drawing for the first time in any game. It's just an Ultra Ball. Up on Route 204, I awkwardly have to fight a double battle using the Geodude that I'm only keeping around for Rock Smash at this point. He did hit level 8 and 9 here, so I let him enjoy his new Rock Polish move once because he's never seeing the light of day after this. Then Floaroma Town looks a little nicer in Platinum version. They put up some nice archways to mark the entrances to town. Really, this game does an okay job keeping up the cosmetic differences. It's mostly the snowy motif that gets dropped. I heard multiple mentions of how Platinum has this new snowy theme, and that's barely true, I don't know. The berry prices for accessories were drastically reduced from Diamond and Pearl, which is a good thing. Mirror Ball is the most expensive thing now, still wanting 100, but there are no 250s. That was a little pricey given how slow berry management can be. I fought the Galactics for the Windworks key, saving Honey Guy, who will now sell honey in batches of 10 instead of just 1 by 1, making it a fair bit less annoying to farm Honey Tree Pokemon in Platinum version. Honey Trees had their encounter tables improved as well. Wurmples are much less common, with that difference distributed to make Combee, Burmy, Cherubi, and Apom all show up more. Nothing was done about Munchlax, though. They are happy with him being super rare. Inside the Windworks is our second major plot shakeup. Mars introduces herself as one of Galactic's 4 commanders. There's a new one in Platinum called Charon. But first, the Mars fight, which is no joke. Her Zubat leads with Toxic, which puts me on a timer to win. I cleverly cured the poison during Perugli's fake-out turn, then I still needed a super potion to stay in the fight despite having 3 levels on her champion. Oof. Afterward, we get development on this Charon fellow. He joined Team Galactic recently and thinks himself very smart, but Mars is comfortable disrespecting him in front of the public, so I don't think they're living in harmony, oh love. Looker meets us outside to say mostly nothing again, but he reiterates Eterna City as our destination. Bro, we know. It is wild to me they're okay pumping the battle difficulty so high, but heaven forbid they reduce the hand-holding. That's the bad kind of difficulty. North now along Route 205, Fairness picked up Bite at level 22, which is going to be instrumental for Fantina. Without that, I would have needed to make some intentional changes to the team. Before I can enter Eterna Forest, I have to hunt for a Buizel. See, we need one for a trade in Eterna City. In Diamond and Pearl, we could catch one on the Eterna side of Eterna Forest, but in Platinum, we can only catch one on Route 205 South. So they did change the overall experience of making the trades in this game, if not the actual Pokemon involved, by making them slightly harder to pull off. Cheryl helps us through Eterna Forest as before. It's a small shame that I don't have a second party member to train up while we have the free healing after every fight. Companion sections are really nice for that. Then the scripted events in Eterna City are slightly different from Diamond Pearl. Instead of Cynthia catching us, Bryson does, who brings us to Cyrus muttering over the Dialga statue. In the house nearby afterward, a young man recalls inscriptions that were once on the statue describing the legends of Dialga and Palkia. Then he hints at a third inscription that used to be there, alluding to a third supremely powerful Pokemon. This is our first foreshadowing of Giratina, and it's ominous, and I love it. Then Cynthia gives us cut. I trade that Buizel to Norton for his Chatot Chirap, identical to the one in Diamond and Pearl. You've got to run strong Pokemon to keep up in Platinum, though. It's a little harder to justify raising a bad-natured Chatot in Platinum. A Rowan aid gives the XP share, which I will want once we have another partner, which I'm excited to announce that's finally time for. What I'm hunting for is underground. Platinum lets you find either of the fossil Pokemon from Gen 4, but not both. It's dependent on your immutable trainer ID. You can be sure when I started the run that I made sure my trainer ID would yield the fossil I want. Even trainer ID means I'm hunting for an armor fossil in the underground. I didn't have any trouble finding bulging spots in the walls to dig at, nor did the minigame give me any trouble. But the fossil is quite rare to actually spawn, and it took most of an hour collecting all kinds of treasure before finally encountering an armor fossil in the digging minigame. I collected heart scales, evolution stones, a few shards, even rare stuff like an iron ball. But finally, I ran into an armor fossil, which I dug up and then ran back to Orberg to revive as a Shieldon. Yes, getting to Orberg would be much easier if I'd simply fight Gardenia first and bike down Cycling Road, but I'm sick of having just my starter on the team, and I wanted to start feeding experience to our new guy. Shieldon is a tank, and I'm going to give him a pretty toxic moveset, so say hello to M3 Stewfart. Thanks to my patrons and Twitch subs who helped me name my team, by the way. If you want to support my channel and get your Pokemon names in a future video, you know where to look. I would greatly appreciate it. Stewfart gets my Rock Tomb and Stealth Rock TMs. It feels nice being able to utilize these since they can be narrow. I really wish his ability had Sandstorm synergy though, I would lean into that. I test out Stewfart against some fishermen I skipped earlier. He takes an unfortunate amount of Rock Tombs to defeat even weak foes. He's a Pokemon who does well in tougher battles after setting up, but he can be annoying to use against wild Pokemon and route trainers, so I have him leech XP with the XP share for much of the game, even once he's stronger. After defeating a few more trainers on the early partial route to 11, we're back in Eterna to challenge the gym. A gym which has changed drastically in appearance and mechanics. Emerald did a little tweaking of the Ruby Sapphire gyms, but this is an entire redesign. We now have a walking on clockwork hands puzzle that makes me think back to that ancient temple in Final Fantasy VII. I thought the old Eterna gym was fun, but the new one is also good. Changing the gyms was a nice compartmental way to increase the value of Platinum for people who have played Diamond and Pearl. Against Gardenia, a grass-on-grass slugfest would tend to be slow, but thankfully we can use Bite to hit neutrally. Fairness hits level 27 during the fight to learn Mega Drain, which I don't even say yes to because of how asymmetrically physical his offensive stats are. This just would not compare to Razorleaf. And sadly his free slots are going to HMs. Winning here lets us use Cut, which does have meaningfully different content than in Diamond and Pearl. I hit the mart to stock up on repels and nest balls before returning to Eterna Forest and the old chateau, because the TV here at night hosts a Rotom encounter. In Diamond and Pearl, this only occurred in the postgame, but in Platinum, we can fight Rotom right now. It's got great stats and learn set, and would definitely be good for power gaming through Platinum. But I'm kind of indignant that Rotom had his cool appliance forms added in Platinum, but then they were gatekept behind an event item that I never had access to, so I refused to use his boring old non-appliance forms. I'll thug it out with Fairness and Stewfart. Looker pops up again like Gene Parmesan when I enter the Galactic hideout. Okay, he is growing on me. They gave him a charming, funny personality, and it's a nice change of pace having a semi-competent policeman character, because the bumbling cop trope is plenty well-trodden. You know what Platinum balanced much better? Galactic opponent teams. Diamond and Pearl had like 40 Bronzors to fight all game long. They did better this time mixing in Glameows, Stunkies, and Skorupis. Stewfart and Fairness enjoy fighting a more diverse bunch through the double battles in here. It's not just Team Galactic whose teams were diversified either. There's only like 6 Gyarados opponents in Platinum, down from 25. Electric type is that much less required on your team. We collect our first of 3 upgrades in here. Game Freak really were desperate for us to trade evolve a Porygon. There are a bunch of evolution items that we'll end up with duplicates of just by looting thoroughly, but I don't think trade evolution items specifically are ones we needed a bunch of copies of. Neither are the Dusk Stones that we can't even utilize without trading. Be Jupiter, then Walkout, because Escape Rope, as usual, doesn't work when we need it to, and we're able to collect our 3rd Pokemon. Yes, really. Having dealt with Team Galactic, Cynthia hands us a Pokemon egg, but she's not triggered by us leaving town. She's specifically triggered to block the door of the bike shop so we can't collect the bike before the egg. I only noticed this because I got so used to grabbing the bike before the odd egg and crystal version so that I could save scum for the baby I wanted. After biking around for a few minutes, our 3rd Pokemon hatches from the egg. This guy's a gangster. His real name's Clarence, and Clarence's parents have a really good marriage. Togepi is one species with dramatically different abilities, so I did have to make a few attempts until I hatched one with Serene Grace, and also with a nature that did not pointlessly boost attack. Now, Clarence popped out at level 1, so he is going to need custody of the XP share, and this is where the wheels come off the run. See, Shieldon really stinks until you get him a bunch of levels and or TM support. 10 PP of Rock Tomb is enough for 2 opponents on a good day, and often just 1 with how much it misses and how low his attack stat is. And Clarence will not learn a usable attack until level 33. So slogging through cycling path trainers, using Stewfart to boost Clarence was just throwing XP into a black hole, and it took forever too because of Stewfart being defensive. I know I had wished for more party members, but not like this. I got Monkey's Pod. It's trivial to sustain 1 XP leech thanks to the XP share, but 2 leeches in a party of 3 is just not gaming right. I'm suddenly no longer mad that Togepi was gated to the postgame in Diamond and Pearl. You need to be aware what you're signing up for. Stufart Dig pick up Swagger at 24, which helps stretch his Rock Tomb PP, but it still takes a lot of Poke Center trips just to clear one route with him. With our bike, I revisited Orberg Gate Basement for Flash and Brick Break TMs. I've been keeping Kaza in the party through now for teleport utility, and also because he can flash for us the one place we need it before I put him in computer jail. That one place is Wayward Cave while I'm still in the area to grab all that easy trainer XP from companion battles with Mira. This time I went straight for Mira at the start of the cave, simply going north, northwest, northeast, south, north at the intersections to grab Mira before fighting any of the trainers in here. Her Kadabra was really good at winning fights while Stufart just stood there and Clarence took notes. I honestly should have grinded wild Pokemon with Mira's help for an hour or two. It would have fixed a lot of issues. Once the upper part of the cave is done, discover that Platinum did something crazy. They removed the Strength Gate for accessing the Wayward Cave basement. There are 3 big power increases down here that were not available in Diamond and Pearl because of that. First, the hidden Duskstone comes way sooner. A shame that both of the Duskstone users are unavailable in Platinum. 2, you can catch Guybles much earlier. That's a welcome change, and it's in the tradition of Crystal letting you gamble for a Larvitar in Goldenrod. But most crazy is that they didn't move the Earthquake TM. You can just get that after only 2 gyms. It's not okay. I'm not okay. I promise. Earthquake would smooth out some of my team's issues right now if I gave it to Stufart, but we do need it for somebody else, so I'll continue to suffer in a prison of my own making. Then resuming game progress east toward Hearthome, Dawn gives us the VS Seeker and Dowsing Machine, pointlessly changed from the rival who gives us those in Diamond and Pearl. Then it's into Mount Coronet for a 3rd Cyrus encounter. By now he's a familiar face, but this was our first encounter with him in the last games. I honestly think that showing Cyrus twice before now has cheapened him. Meeting him only after we've dealt with a few Team Galactic situations in Diamond and Pearl hit better. It was more threatening how he doesn't fight you here after Mars and Jupiter do. Now he's just the weird guy who walks around the world muttering. Once in Hearthome, contests have not changed since Diamond and Pearl, so I am absolved of having to enter one to compare versions, but there's a huge change to gym order. Fantina will actually let us fight her as gym number 3 in Platinum version, right now on our first visit to Hearthome City. This is the first time that a 3rd Pokemon game has made fundamental changes to the structure of a campaign. Between the gym redesigns and changing up the gym order, Platinum version is easily the most worth it 3rd game ever. It's a much more different game contrasted with Diamond and Pearl than Yellow, Crystal, or Emerald were to their base games. Not even considering the changes to Pokemon availability, which do provide a new experience in their own right, Platinum easily provides a more different experience from the base game than the other 3rd games did. This earns your consumer dollars. This game puts Emerald to shame. BB now has a bonus Eevee laying around that she'll give us. Why not? This is Pedialyte, and I actually hold a Water Stone already from my long armor fossil hunt, so I went ahead and immediately evolved Vaporeon for the team. I have not run a lot of evolutions. I think I ran Jolteon for a while back in Blue, but Gen 4 is the least restrictive with your water Pokemon slots so far, and I'm also intentionally testing out a bulkier, more defensive team that Vaporeon fits nicely into. Problem is, Pedialyte does not know any good attacks and won't for a while, making him my 3rd Charity Case party member, but at least this one has the bulk to survive the many turns that he needs to tackle foes down. As a side note, I confused Pedialyte with Pediasure for the longest time, and I didn't know why my adult friends were talking about drinking stuff for malnourished children. Is that just me, or? Platinum version added rotating daily trainers. Every day, 5 or 6 Poke Centers throughout the world host a single trainer looking to battle. Battling inside a Poke Center is bad etiquette, and I have no idea why this feature was even added from a game design perspective. We already have the VS Seeker for extra trainer battles. But right now, that's a couple more XP to get my team prepared to fight Fantina. Amity Square got tweaked. All the starter Pokemon and their evolutions are now permitted, so there's no need to catch a Risu just to pick up your Amulet coin. I also think Amity Square is why Psyducks became easier to catch earlier. They added a teleporter puzzle for navigating around through the creepy shacks in here. In a horror movie, it's the kind of thing that a person would one day enter and not come back from. I don't like these. Then, with my 1 good Pokemon plus 3 moral supporters, I stepped into the Hearthome Gym. I realized even if Clarence evolves, he won't help the team much until I get a Shiny Stone. Unlike Dusk and Dawn Stones, which Platinum made available early, the Shiny Stone for Togekiss is still a relatively late game item. So I passed the XP share to Pedialyte because he will be able to contribute on offense after some initial investment. This gym, like Eterna's, has had its gimmick changed. I didn't find it very well designed in Diamond and Pearl, but I love it now, so this redesign is a big improvement. It's like a Mario Party minigame trying to find the right symbol on a door with only your flashlight in the dark. Stufart is actually capable of fighting some of the low defense ghosts in here, but PP is still quite an issue. Out of desperation, once Stufart's PP is low, I even sent Clarence in one battle to yawn, Sweet Kiss, metronome his way barely through a single Miss Drevis opponent, but that was so arduous I don't desire to repeat it. It takes more than one Pokécenter step-outs, but eventually I make it all the way in to challenge Fantina, with my team at the lowest relative power level that they'll be at all game. I lead with Stufart to set up Stealth Rock for chip damage against Fantina's ladder Pokemon, then barely managed to attack down Duskull, Swagger doing most of my work. I'll admit it took a few reloads before RNG didn't absolutely screw me, but this fight is just not happening if Stufart can't handle one opponent. Cause my only option against Miss Magius is to bite with Fairness, but the strength of her Shadow Balls is so high. Even up 3 levels, I barely take this matchup, but Fairness and Stufart are looking rough with a Haunter still remaining. I'm forced to send out Clarence, who gets messed up with Confusion and Hypnosis, but eventually wakes up and sticks a critical yawn. That's the window I need to switch to the almost dead Fairness and land one safe bite to win this brutal fight. I've heard people say the difficulty of Platinum version spikes as of Crasher Wake, but for me, the spike was definitely here in Hearthome, or even a little earlier because the route trainers haven't exactly been easy with this team. Bryson catches us with a fight as we exit town to the east. My team is really soft to his Monferno except for the underleveled Pedialyte. He deals no damage, but I don't really do damage either. 6 turns of growling to bottom out his attack give me the breathing room to chip him down over 7 more turns. Vaporeon without a single water move, much less a single special move, is quite toothless. Fortunately, trainer fights on Route 209 are back down to a level that my party can manage, even the weak ones. I wish this place were open before Fantina, even partially, because it would smooth out the level curve. I skipped the Lost Tower for now because it's foggy in Platinum. Then Bryson runs into us again as we enter Solaceon Town, which is much too soon to see him again. Platinum made me do something I rarely need to do in Pokemon games, and that's buy a couple of super potions in the mart. It's a downside of running a slow, bulkier team, and also of not having real attackers on 3/4 of them. I'm gonna get angry comments for this, but the rough, dare I say, incomplete movesets of 3 of my Pokemon feel a lot like Gen 2. Now, I've been having quite a tough time juggling XP share with 3 Pokemon, so I actually dropped off Pedialyte at the daycare in Solaceon Town for some good old-fashioned experience points. I'm not going to miss one Pokemon while I do a few errands around town. The Solaceon ruins contain the Defog HM this time, another shuffle Platinum has done to the order of things, and one of each basic elemental evolution stone, so we would have a Vaporeon by now even without the treasure hunting earlier. Now with Defog, I'm willing to take on the Lost Tower. Thing is, Clarence was gonna be my Defogger, and apparently he can only learn that after evolving. Oops. Wait, oops! The first Ghastly I defeat in here XP shares Clarence up to level 26, which was his friendship evolution level with perfect timing. With better stats, I might be sending him into battles now, so I also taught him Grass Knot just so he has something he can do on offense. And we get Defog. The Lost Tower did get a reskin. Putting aside how the bright green grass in Diamond and Pearl's Lost Tower struck the wrong tone, it also didn't make sense to be growing indoors. The blue bricks are much more thematic now. And Stufart picked up Ancient Power at level 28. Much more accurate than Rock Tomb, but not really more powerful, and with half the PP. This guy cannot catch a break. For defogging the top floor of the tower, we get some junk. Turns out the Strength HM has been relocated too, and this tower was fully optional. Hell, defog is barely more necessary than Flash now, and definitely could have been downgraded to a TM, but that probably would have caused programming issues if they tried it mid-generation. Then I gotta pick up Pedialyte without even 1 level gained because it's time to advance the game again along Route 210. I pick up a Roost TM for Clarence, but the big development here was Stufart hitting level 29, because then I rare candied him to 30, which got him to evolve. Bastiodon is a crazy tank, though his actual hit points aren't too high, so I feed Stufart the many HP ups this game throws my way to make him unkillable, but it's still a little while before we get him a proper move set to take advantage of that survivability. Now I know I've been struggling to form a cohesive team, but what if I said the solution was to add another Charity Case Pokemon? After almost running Lickitung for many games in this series, this is finally the run. Around the corner on Route 215, Platinum made these guys available before the postgame, and since it's always had a strong move pool, buffing its stats with an evolution in Gen 4 is all Lickitung needed to become perfectly usable. I took a few catches to land one without an attack down nature. What I should have worried about more is her ability. I thought both options were bunk. Infatuation immunity or confuse immunity, but there is so much confusion in this game. Own tempo is the clear better ability. Enemies have a massive boner for confuse ray. Anyway, this is Ballerina, and she does have the worst ability, and I love her. This Pokemon we can make useful quicker than the others with our saved up Earthquake and Brick Break TMs. She's able to win a few battles from the start thanks to these. I wouldn't have thought unevolved Lickitung would be my second strongest party member after 3 gyms, but this is the bet I've made. Platinum is weird. After finishing the long Route 215 with some fun double battles, I finally make it to Veilstone City, which is where my run completely turns around. It takes a minute to dawn on me though. It's not like I had "Team finally gets strong here" written in my notes. My team has been stunted so far, due to me choosing a few advanced level Pokemon who need some extra setup to get going. But starting in Veilstone, or more accurately, before fighting Maylene, is when Platinum version opens a ton of options for powering up your team. Between the Game Corner, Department Store, Routes 212, 13, and 14, and Pastoria City 2, we're gonna patch up our holes and get more than just fairness usable for the harder battles. First, though not really part of that, a man will now gift a free Porygon so that those upgrade items make sense, but he doesn't give us a friend to make use of it, so sadly Porygon does not make this team. I let the Massage Girl touch Ballerina to start farming up return power, then head into the department store to stock up on max repels, fresh waters, and, new in Platinum, lava cookies in the basement, basically discount full heals. This whole basement floor is new. They also sell berries for the first time in the franchise, and Poffins. The TM counter is what I'm most excited about. Stufart gets Protect to help stall while opponents die from confusion, and then Hyper Beam is not only an attack for Clarence, it's one of the best attacks he could ask for. It's normal type for that same type bonus, and it's a special move to go with Clarence's good special attack. One little $7,500 TM takes him from pitiful to strong. Then, this is earlier than I'd usually fill out my team, but by heading down Route 214, I'm grateful the game allows us some exploration here, by the way. It's more fun than having NPCs block the exits until we defeat the gym like in previous cities. We can find Houndour in the grass. Does not even need to be nighttime. I hunted till I found a female because I have a specific name in mind. Clarence's yawn helps me make the catch. This girl is Virginia. Houndour could be a physical or special attacker based on the moves you choose and its nature. Virginia has a neutral nature, which lends itself more towards special attacks. At least she knows how to bite to begin with, though that's a physical attack and she still has no fire move. But then I get to test out Clarence's Hyper Beam against a same-leveled neutral matchup in battle. Dang, Clarence, you can just do that? I fully disclosed that I was not having a great time playing Platinum version. Only my starter Pokemon felt usable and every battle was a struggle. The result was Pokemon Platinum being not fun. But one store-bought Hyper Beam TM turning Clarence into a good Pokemon has completely changed how much fun I'm having with this whole game. The issue, and this is a minor complaint, it's not a big deal, is that Platinum version gave us access to a lot more Pokemon sooner, but did not also go changing their level up moves to make sure we could use them effectively at lower levels. It's kind of like how Red version didn't bother coding any moves for Psyduck until Confusion at level 36 because there simply was no way to get one until the late game. But Platinum gave us these Pokemon early, leaving it as an exercise to the reader to make sure that they have usable moves. And unless you give them Return or Earthquake, this is the first point in the game that you get much control over that. The Dig TM is still in the same place in the Maniac's Tunnel, but that's a joke considering we've already had Earthquake for a while. I clear out the rest of Route 214's many trainers using my newly okay party. Virginia's getting a few wins already, helping me against Bronzors, and Ballerina's performing fine as well. Then on one healing visit back to Veilstone, it hits me. Why stop at one Hyper Beam? We can just get more Hyper Beams and let the rest of the team hit strong too. I've been mourning the lack of a special attack on Pedialyte. Here, take a Hyper Beam. He's got the bulk to tank through recharge turns even if that doesn't kill. And for Virginia, it's still not a fire move, but heck, take a Hyper Beam too. Well, I guess she has to evolve first, but that's not too far off. In the hotel area, the prize for finding that woman's room key has been upgraded to a white flute, and then I have a great time tackling those double battles in the cafe using my beam team. It just solves all of my problems. Virginia hit level 24 to evolve in no time, which I'm annoyed did not come with a fire move, but it did activate her as a third Hyper Beam user. It's seriously dumb everyone's movesets are so bad that the optimal play is to slap Hyper Beam on your entire party. If I only had access to Ember for Virginia and Water Gun for Pedialyte, I would have been happy with my weak little on-type moves and never even considered this. I am lightly blaming the game for getting me addicted to Hyper Beam. I asked for Advil and they gave me morphine, so now why would I ever go back to the weaker stuff if I'm one-shotting everything? It's hilarious, but it's not great design. Then I realized, wait, the TM counter sells Fire Blast 2. That's basically 5 more Hyper Beam PP for Virginia. And just like that, 4 out of 6 Pokemon are serious contenders in battle, with Ballerina still being an okay 5th. Now, Pastoria City would have had some more power-ups for me too if I wasn't relying so much on Hyper Beams. See, the move Relearner is here, and I own a couple of heart scales already from dowsing and from my treasure hunt for the armor fossil earlier. Vaporeon learns Water Gun at level 15 if you can somehow manage to evolve an Eevee so low. We got ours already past that, so I relearn Water Gun for Rock and Steel coverage on Pedialyte or for cases where accuracy matters. Virginia also has Thunder Fang as a level X move that can be relearned here. I was gonna run this, but now it's just worse than her other options. Macho Brace Guy in Diamond and Pearl asked to see all 3 forms of Burmy, which was a big ask with how annoying Honeytree catches are. In Platinum, he only needs to see both genders of Combee, which is a little more easily attained. Then I did a Great Marsh visit just for the loot because Defog has been relocated, and continued west onto Route 212 in pursuit of more Trainer Battle XP because I don't want Maylene to be a nail-biter the way that Fantina was, and also because there are more big power bumps for the team out here. Fairness hits level 32, killing a Quagsire to evolve into Torterra and pick up Earthquake. Gen 4 is pretty lenient with that move, huh? Then, in place of the girl who trades shards for weather TMs, is now a man who trades shards for a big selection of tutored moves. I'm considering Air Cutter for Clarence or Icy Wind for Pedialyte, except the game withheld these for so long, we're pretty close to learning Aurora Beam anyway. If this tutor was placed in Hearthome, I would have been all about it, but here it's lost some appeal. A little ways west into the swamp is the big payoff for Stufart, though. TM06 Toxic. He's been great at staying alive, but not at closing fights, and now he has a devious way to turn survivability into wins. After struggling for a while, all 6 of my team are now capable of scoring wins. Mr. Backlot's mansion has been changed up in Platinum version. You can now fight a 5-streak battle against his maids, and if you beat all of their Clefairies in 6 turns or less, you get a prize. These Clefairies know a lot of swifty moves to interfere with your attacks if they outspeed you though, so the only way to win this is to go first and one-shot them. Something that's a little tough without a strong fighting move. I fail to one-shot starting with the 3rd Clefairy, so the prize eludes me for now. We can also look at Mr. Backlot's book for a photo of Manaphy, which Platinum added as a requirement for completing the Sinnoh Dex. Without the internet, I would be really confused what this thing is. I still kind of am. Ballerina, holding the XP share, hit level 32 after the young rich couple fight, so I decided she deserves a candy for being good. Level 33 learns her rollout, which is then the trigger to evolve her into Licky Licky. She's got a great hit point pool now and elevated defenses, and still maintains pretty good offensive stats. She gives new meaning to the term all-rounder. At long last, my extensive powering up detour is complete, and I'm back in Veilstone City, more than prepared to challenge Maylene's fighting gym. There's a new lighthearted Crasher Wake preview scene as we approach to get us excited about that coming challenge. It leaves Dawn speechless. She just says, "So, Mothy, good luck," and then walks away. Maylene's gym, like the previous 2, got a redesign. Now we're pushing punching bags. But it lost a lot of the puzzliness of the Diamond and Pearl sliding wall gym, and this place is a mess aesthetically. The colors, the clutter, I don't like it. This gym I do consider a downgrade, but still, the fact that they changed the puzzles is worth something. My team is quite soft to fighting types though, 3 of them being explicitly weak, and Clarence just not having much defense, so I rely a lot on fairness in here with Pedialyte holding the XP share in case I need him to tag in against Maylene. But emboldened with a few extra roots of XP under my belt, I recklessly challenged Maylene with a half-dead fairness and still succeeded in earthquaking my way through the fight. Lucario is my only real problem. I didn't expect it to outspeed Virginia when I went to Fire Blast. She was my fastest Pokemon, and I'm not sure anyone is capable of tanking these blows. But Fairness only takes 25 damage from a neutral Force Palm and claims yet another Earthquake one-shot. Maylene's final Machoke lives through one Earthquake to get a turn, which he blows on a setup move, and Maylene weirdly doesn't bother healing for me to win next turn. After struggling with Fantina, and then honestly with most of the root trainers for a while, I was bummed about my weak team and wondering what I did wrong and why Platinum wasn't clicking for me. But reaching Veilstone and getting all these tools to improve my team fixed my run, returned the game to an appropriate difficulty, and most importantly, made things fun again. Returning to my earlier claim that Platinum is an expert mode Pokemon game, you just have to be aware of the movesets of Pokemon that you want to play with during the early game. Make sure they learn real on-type attacks, or else don't bother raising them until you reach Veilstone, when you can use TMs and tutors to patch any holes, and try to limit yourself to one Pokemon who needs to hold your XP share. It takes a little more intention than previous games did to keep Platinum version fun. We get the same Dawn's Stolen Pokedex plot beat after beating Maylene, but this time Looker shows up to hold our hand and drag us directly to the Fly HM once the scene is over, in case we're too stupid to find that ourselves. And then, well, I've become addicted to power, so why stop at Hyper Beam? There's so much more that money can buy us right here in Veilstone. I VS Seekered the rich trainers on Route 212 for a little while, amulet coin in hand, to build up my cash. Virginia finally was going to naturally learn a fire move at level 32, Fire Fang, which I am way past the point of wanting. No, I just need cash for some more advanced TMs at the Veilstone Game Corner. I didn't just buy my way into power with pure cash though, I did gamble for a portion of my casino coins this time. There's a kind of fun Clefairy Simon Says minigame baked into the slots in Gen 4, which I didn't bother with in Diamond and Pearl since I was happy with my team's moves, but I played the slots for a while here and netted about 1,500 coins. Then just bought 17,000 more. Gambling in Gen 4 is easier and steadier and more fun than ever, but it is a bit time consuming. With 19,000 coins in hand, I approach the prize counter. My first choice is Ice Beam for Pedialyte. Aurora Beam is coming in a few levels, but I'm a little bit salty how long that took, and overcompensating with Ice Beam helps me feel a little better. 6,000 go to Rest for Stufart, which helps him further waste enemy turns while they die of Toxic. 1,000 is a Silk Scarf for Ballerina to power up returns, and my final 2,000 actually buy 2 wide lenses. This is a less common choice. It's a held item that simply boosts accuracy by 10%, patching up the downsides of Hyper Beam and Fire Blast. With wide lens in hand, these moves almost never miss. The good news from doing these early game power-up montages is that I'm relieved from having to loot as thoroughly for the rest of the game or interrupt the action to go grab new TMs once I have new HM access. Most of what I need, I already have. Let's go crush the rest of Pokemon Platinum. I'm able to fly directly to Pastoria, having been there before, and for all the leveling I did, I'm still behind Bryson in levels when he challenges us outside the Pastoria gym. But he has not had to fight our real team yet. Ice Beams from Pedialyte one-shot Staravia and the Roselia he sends in to counter our water type. But we're a little soft to water ourselves, so Ballerina takes out his Buizel in an Earthquake. Then I have Ballerina stay in for Monferno since her bulk is enough to withstand even super effective Mach Punches, and because I'm realizing I may rely on her for the coming gym and more XP will help there. That's Bryson handled easily. Pokemon is back to the difficulty that it's supposed to be. With Crasher Wake's gym coming, I decided the team could use a little actual electric coverage though. I cashed in my shards at the Route 212 tutor to put Thunder Punch on Ballerina, a Lickitung classic. That works pretty well for her. Thunder Punches are easily getting me through the subordinate trainers in Wake's gym. A gym which didn't change from Diamond and Pearl, mind you. In fact, Maylene's was the last gym that did change. Gyms 2, 3, and 4 were remodeled in Platinum with the other 5 unchanged. I don't need to make that a problem, it's just a little suspicious that the early gyms got changed with the last 4 untouched. It definitely feels like ship date for the game was coming soon and they just couldn't get them all finished in time. When I reach Crasher Wake, I lead Ballerina against his Gyarados. Unfortunately, 4x Thunder Punches reduced by Intimidate are not able to one-shot, which leaves my promising star wounded already. I'm worried about Wake's Floatzel, so against that I send Stufart, who Toxics and Rests to help the poison gain momentum before I pass things off to a Hyper-Beaming Pedialyte for the kill. Then to punish Quagsire's quad grass weakness, who else but Fairness with the same move he's used since level 13. Crasher Wake, not an issue. Back outside the gym, Platinum did add a fun minor plot element. Bryson has unilaterally decided that Crasher Wake is his mentor, and Wake kind of gets flustered denying this. It's in character for Bryson, and it fits both of them well. Finding where to go next was a little bit confusing in Diamond and Pearl, so I'm happy to see that they did address that in Platinum, with Wake calling it out and getting us to follow him directly to the Galactic Grunt outside the Great Marsh. I know I said I don't love the handholding, but at least Platinum is more consistent with it. So, we chase down the Galactic Grunt, Cynthia still gives us the non-sequitur Psyduck medicine, and then Stalker Lee pops up again as soon as we utilize it on Route 210. As I blast my way up Route 215, I gotta say, for the listed accuracy of some moves like Rock Tomb that say 80 but feel more like 60, Fire Blast lists 85 but felt more like 95. And that's including before I got the wide lens, now it never misses. So, my strong team reaches Celestic Town, which did get a few important version differences from Diamond and Pearl. There's an eyeglasses fanatic in the herb shop who gifts the wise glasses at night and the choice specs at morning. And black glasses at day, but who cares in light of the other two. Choice specs are a powerful damage boost that feel, as Earthquake did, like a crazy amount of power to give the player so early, even though we're mid-game. Pedialyte defeats the Galactic Grunt, blocking the Lore Cave, and dings 36 to finally learn Aurora Beam, no thanks. But that is how long this game makes your Vaporeon go without a single special attack if you don't take matters into your own hands. Inside the cave, Cynthia's grandma hints a little more at Giratina as we regard the cave painting. It comes down to math. The 3 Psychic Lake Trio balance out not 2, but 3 other semi-deistic Pokemon, even though most of Sinnoh only remembers 2 in the legends. Well, Cyrus still shows up and battles us because we don't share his vision of a new world. Fire Blast, Hyper Beam, Ice Beam, and 1 quick attack later, he's no challenge. We're given the Surf HM, a nice same-type attack for Pedialyte, then Cynthia starts to take notice that Team Galactic might not be good guys, and forwards us to the Canolav library for more on Sinnoh history. It feels like she already knows about the legendary Dragon Trio, but wants us to discover that for ourselves, which is quality mentorship. Alas, Surf Permission is still Surf Permission. I won't detail our Surf errands nearly as much as in Diamond and Pearl. There are a ton, but this team does not benefit from most of them. I do visit the Windworks for a Thunderbolt TM, which is a nice upgrade over Thunder Punch on Ballerina, especially considering that I mostly bring that out for Gyarados who intimidate. And while I'm here, I do catch a Finneon for trade later on. Then, awkwardly, my next task is the same thing I did playing Diamond version. Rush Iron Island super early to make a roster change. Don't worry, I'm not doing Riolu again. I'm not sure I could handle that emotionally. Bryson challenges us on the bridge in Canolav, Yawn, Fire Blast, and Hyper Beam. What's concerning is his evolved Infernape, who has both of my Earthquakers countered. But Pedialyte has the bulk to survive Brick Breaks and Surf to take the win. Okay, Iron Island. As before, I have a fun time running the companion battles with Riley's Lucario. He is level 41. I generally take the companion's Pokemon level as a guideline for where my team should be, but 41 seems a little high given the opponents in here. So why does Lucario die so easily? There's some good loot in here, and I do accept the Riolu egg at the end because it's rude to turn down a gift, but what I actually came here for is one item on our way out at the end, a shiny stone. This one was not usable before the postgame in Diamond and Pearl, and unfortunately one was not made available sooner like the Dusk and Dawn stones were in Platinum because I want it this time for evolving Clarence. He's got good bulk now and a properly great special attack, but the best thing is this freaky alien Wong noise he makes in battle. Togekiss is why I wanted to rush Iron Island. I go relearn Air Slash for him in Pastoria now, which goes well with his Serene Grace ability, doubling the chance to flinch, but it's still only worth using over Hyper Beam when it's going to be super effective. Surf-wise, I have to cover my trip to the Fuego Ironworks again, because this time Mr. Fuego will cash in star pieces for one of each shard. Star pieces are another piece of loot that's been doled out all game. I had like 6 of them, counting the one he gives us here, for a bunch more shards to spend on tutors. None of this shard system is placed in great spots though, I have to say. The ability to cash in star pieces for shards would have made the Route 212 tutor more exciting, and the next good shard tutor is not until the post-game. Getting a bunch of shards now is too late for one and much too early for the other. Shards for moves is a cool system because it allows more of the random loot you pick up to feel impactful, but I would have rearranged where the star piece exchange is, if not also where the tutors are. Then I hit the surfing content off Route 213 as well as routes 219 and 220 south of Sand Gem for the XP. I am grateful these routes are optional and also short. Gen 3 really scarred me. Your move speed while surfing was buffed in Platinum version, which is nice, I guess, but the physical speed of surfing barely bothered me in Diamond. The high-level tentacle encounters busting through repels and the dozens of swimming trainers take up much more of your time than the actual overworld movement ever did. So after grabbing that optional XP, the team is level 40-ish as I enter Canolav's Steel Gym, Pedialyte and Virginia conveniently being 2 of my lowest level Pokemon since they're about to get the most work in here. Fire Blast just rips this place apart, and Surf takes care of the few Steelacies. I gotta say, it's really nice having a fire type on the team for Bronzors. I think too many Pokemon have Levitate. If you need it to be ground immune, make it a Steel Flying type and invite Electric weakness, cowards. Against leader Byron, Fire Blast handled Magneton and Steelix, but then he sent in a Bastiodon of his own. And as much as I love a mirror match, he would be immune to Stufart's Toxic strategy, so I have Fairness set up Leech Seed in case it takes a few turns to quake through his high defenses. It does not. One Earthquake scores a lethal critical hit. This game has had an inverse difficulty curve, which is typically a bad thing. This late gym was much easier than early gyms since we've been allowed to make our team strong like the gym leaders have. Honestly, just removing Shadow Ball from Fantina's Mismagius and maybe reducing the speed or level of Maylene's Lucario would have gone a long way toward fixing that. That's tech the player doesn't have access to at that point in the game. With 6 badges won, the League Challenge takes a back seat for a while as we head through the crescendo and climax of the game's plot. While nothing prevents us from taking breaks, the game does a nice job imparting a sense of urgency. It keeps me excited. Rowan asks us kids to visit the lakes. Our assignment gets bombed by crazy coincidence right then, and yet we manage to handle all 3 lakes ourselves because Dawn and Bryson aren't competent. Lake Valor is much the same, just an easy fight against Galactic Commander Saturn. At Lake Verity, we handle Mars and her Perugly. Then Lake Acuity is a bit farther away through Mount Coronet and the long routes 216 and 217. Nothing is too different along the way, except remember how we had to catch Buizel slightly earlier to trade with? The Gaspar trade did get even worse in Platinum because we can't directly catch Medicham on Route 217 anymore. We have to catch it earlier on Route 216, and it'll only be a level 33 Metatite that we'll have to do some work to evolve. There is one random Maylene scene with a criminal lack of context as we enter Route 217. I kind of wonder why they didn't just give another Looker encounter here, because it's been a while since we've seen him. Lake Acuity has been moved behind a rock climb wall, Bryson hailing us from up there to point us to the Snowpoint Gym for rock climb permission. It's a small change that justifies why we would be challenging a gym in the middle of this urgent Pokemon kidnapping situation. Hitting the gym before Lake Acuity does come off kind of weird in Diamond and Pearl. So reach Snowpoint City, where I take that Metatite out of the computer and blow 4 precious rare candies on it to evolve Medicham, which I can then trade for the non-evolving Haunter, Gaspar. I semi-defended this trade in Diamond because I believe an Everstoned Haunter is not worse than trading for a base Abra or Machop, which the series has had us do a few times. But they managed to make the Gaspar trade worse in Platinum by requiring investment to get our Medicham. We did not need insult with our injury. On a positive note, Platinum added a second Shard move tutor in Snowpoint City, though his list is shorter and they're more esoteric moves like Spite and Synthesis. This one is less likely to shake up your team and might only help with some niche strategies. It's not the kind of thing that belongs before the postgame. Snowpoint Gym is the same as in Diamond Pearl, but Candace has some new tricks. Her champion is now a Frostlass who leads Double Team on top of the evasion boost she gets from the hail that her Obama Snow initiates. Tricky. Thing is, I'm aware of her nonsense. Virginia brings out the feint attacks, which can't miss, and they're still super effective thanks to Frostlass's ghost typing. I hit her twice through another double team. Houndoom is the perfect weapon here. While I go mop up a few rock climb items before advancing the plot, I want to celebrate all the new Pokemon Platinum version made available to us during the main game. Eevee is a big one, because it was weird to have the mossy and icy rocks without an Eevee, but they gave us dozens of others. Some of them are traps at earlier levels, 3 of my team on this run were. Giving us more choices raised the player's power ceiling, but it also lowered the floor. Platinum gave me the rope to hang myself, and I kind of did. But there's also Gliscor, Probopass, Gallade, Magnezone, Frostlass, Absol, and a bunch of others. We've never had such a level of choice on how to build our teams, and that's definitely what stands out to me as a strength of Platinum version. Combined with the higher difficulty giving us a reason to use these new Pokemon, and I can see why I've heard so much praise for Platinum version over the years. Alright, I grabbed the cutscene at Lake Acuity after all that, and then it's into the Galactic buildings in Veilstone City. We're not alone this time. Looker is here with us. This dungeon plays out much the same until the best world-building cutscene we see all game. It's Cyrus up on a tall podium giving an impassioned, creepy CEO speech 1984 style. I rather like how grounded this is. It acknowledges that Team Galactic is just a corporation with cog-in-the-wheel employees. It's very similar to many company all-hands that I've had to sit through, CEOs talking about being family and whatnot while they go do rich people stuff in a tax bracket twice removed. What I don't like as much is the characterization change they made to Cyrus once we catch him in his office. In Platinum, he's real selfish. It's gonna be his new perfect world alone, because he's the only perfect person, and everyone at the company he personally built is useless trash. Cyrus is less threatening this way. He sounds like a whiny child rather than a ruthless zealot. And yet, this is jumping the gun slightly. Cyrus's disdain for his employees being fallible humans, and for the compassion we've shown coming here to rescue the lake Pokemon, this aspect ties in better to the Giratina plot. Cause Dialga and Palkia made time and space, but Giratina made spirit, or soul, the things that make us human. Cyrus being so anti those things does make more sense as a foil to Giratina, who embodies them. Anyway, his fight's super easy. Fire Blast for Sneasel, Thunderbolts for Honchkrow, though he full restores and I swap out to save Ballerina from fainting to keep her return damage high. And Clarence handles Crobat with a couple of air slashes. This guy is a unit. Charon makes his second appearance in the lab afterward. His role is hilarious to me. He's not really interested in Cyrus's new world idea, he's just a pragmatic corpo exec who wants Team Galactic to run a good business. And Saturn is super disrespectful to him like Mars and Jupiter were for no reason. I almost feel like the commander's behavior toward Charon was the Game Freak developers poking fun at their own corporate management. I also had the thought here, what if Cyrus actually did succeed in creating a parallel world in Pokemon Diamond, and Platinum version is just us playing in that new world? Or maybe vice versa. Everything is similar but different. It kind of works. After we beat Saturn in combat, Charon has now seen all of Galactic's leadership lose to a child and gets ideas about how he can do better. He's a cutthroat weasel, but he's not wrong. These other commanders lack drive. As I go stock up on max repels for the Mount Coronet stretch and sell off some old items, this is a fine time to complain about inventory management. So Platinum gives us tons of early evolution items, stones, upgrades, Razorfang, Reaper Cloth, tons of crap. That's on top of 4 colors of shards, Star Piece, and a million type plates and other normal combat held items. It makes navigating your inventory a nightmare. Swapping somebody's held item makes you scroll all the way to the bottom of the bag, then as soon as you want to reapply Repel, you'll be scrolling all the way back to the top. I spent like 15 minutes of playtime on this run just scrolling through my massive inventory because Gen 4 curiously removed item storage functionality from the PC. Platinum exacerbated the issue with loads of unique items. It had me selling rare items I would never sell on a normal playthrough because you never know, but geez, it's a drag keeping all of this on your person. Alright, I head into Mount Coronet, looting like crazy despite what I just complained about, and I make sure to clear the side chamber of Galactic Grunts because that XP evaporates once you handle Cyrus. On the summit, the Bryson companion fight against Mars and Jupiter is again very fun. This time, my strategy is to leave one Bronzor alive, harmlessly keeping one side of the battle back like a cork in a bottle. Munchlax does almost nothing on offense, but thanks to Stockpile and Swallow, he tanks very effectively and wastes a lot of opponent turns for me. Once Clarence clears Stunky and a Golbat, the battle is down to a 2-on-1 and Pedialyte is able to sweep the remaining opponents while Bryson starts having a ton of trouble and has to rotate through a bunch of his team. Rowan and Dawn don't show up this time. It's just me and Bryson here to watch Cyrus summon Dialga and Palkia. There's no cool 3D distortion RGB effect, but I love this hazy filter they put on the text box while Cyrus pontificates. The lake Pokemon, who, as Cyrus phrases it, symbolize spirit, aren't capable of quelling Dialga and Palkia together. But that's not their goal this time. They're summoning a third, the Pokemon of Spirit, Giratina. Out of a black portal rises a terrifying shadow. Pokemon has never been this badass. It's also never been so, Digimon. 2 worlds, one of light and one of shadow. Giratina, stirred to action by the Lake Trio in a bid to maintain the balance Cyrus disrupted, opens a portal to the Shadow World, and now the two are mixing, which I guess is bad. So into the Digiworld we go with Cynthia to address the issue and begin a sweet new Platinum version dungeon, the Distortion World. It's unfortunate there aren't cool Pokemon to catch here, but the implications of them living their entire lives out here would be kinda sad. This area is sweet visually. I want to know more about these freaky tall sunflowers. I always get fascinated with the flora in these twisted dimension places in video games, like Netherwart or the trees that grow in the Soul Cairn in Skyrim. The Distortion World is a medium-sized dungeon with some spatial puzzles to get around. I think it runs a little long for having no loot or encounters, but it is fun. Good addition to the game. Once we and Cynthia corner Cyrus on the lowest level, Cynthia, as the adult, tells him off, but he doubles down on how lame the concept of spirit is. A little awkward with the spirit Pokemon lurking directly behind him. By the way, wouldn't these two be a cute couple if Cyrus could chill? I don't know, I just think they'd be really cute together. We've got to fight Cyrus one final time, and it's a proper tough fight, Meow. He's added a Houndoom and a Gyarados, but nothing's out of range for my hand-picked super team. He departs with a warning that defeating Giratina will collapse this world and maybe our own, and I don't think he's being petulant. He actually believes this. Cynthia says, don't worry about it though, so we won't. I step forward to fight Giratina. Gigo Gago. Now, you can just flee from this and get some special dialogue from Cynthia. Refusing to battle it shows restraint, which it respects and which calms it down. I loaded my game though because I want this scary creature on my team. Go, Master Ball! Using the technology Cyrus gave me, I capture Evil Larry. Cyrus comes back, I guess he couldn't find the way out, and he's mad that we didn't, in fact, make this world disappear. But if he wanted it gone, he shouldn't have scared us that we would be unmade for fighting Giratina. The sky swirls below us. We hop into the portal where Giratina stood. Phew, we're back in our own world, at Send-Off Spring. Glad we're still in Sinnoh. We easily could have got Amazing Raced somewhere random on planet Earth. Cynthia reminds us to check in with Professor Rowan, who's probably worried after hearing Bryson's account of what happened on the Spear Pillar. But first, I grab Evil Larry out of the computer for the team. He can fly and defog, so I'm sorry to say he's taking Clarence's spot. I never got to teach Clarence Thunderwave and really go off with Serene Grace, you don't get any turns kind of build. But look, Evil Larry loves sour food. Aw. Then I accidentally left my computer recording for a half hour while I scrolled TikTok and felt so guilty for my small hard drive that I had to take a break until the next day. Once my shame allowed me back, I gave Larry a spooky plate to boost his ghostliness, then decided to register the Lake Trio in my Pokédex before I forget. Then we're good to hit Route 222 and proceed with the League Challenge. I like how Giratina's level is set to 47. Not 45, not 50. It's carefully chosen to be just about where your party is at in order to integrate well and be usable right away. I gave him a test drive against a Machoke because I learned my lesson about not testing out my Pokemon until boss fights. That's how shameful misplays occur. Larry is not getting one-shots with his neutral attacks, but his defensive stats and type defenses are excellent. He should be very tough to knock out. Sunishore City hasn't changed much. Flint still meets us at the entrance and tells us to retrieve Volkner from the lighthouse. Sure, done. But before I entered the Sunishore gym, I looked up Torterra's data and noticed there is another physical grass move that I could have been using for a bit. Razor Leaf is all he naturally learns since level 13, but once fully evolved, a secret level X grass move slips into his pool that can be relearned. Wood Hammer is a 120 power, 100 accuracy physical grass move. It's devastatingly powerful, but you'll take a ton of recoil damage. It's grass type double edge, with the important distinction that being grass type adds super effective coverage. You do want to be one-hit KOing your enemy with a move that causes you so much damage like this. Though of course I did proceed to simply Earthquake my way through all of Volkner's gym. Can we talk about animated sprites now? Because Platinum added multi-frame animations to gym leaders and important NPCs during battle, and that's great. But the Pokemon animations, in contrast to the trainer ones, are feeling lazy. It's something that really stood out when I went to go play Pokemon Crystal recently. Those animations are the best the franchise has seen 8 years earlier. Each Pokemon has a complex, multi-frame animation of them actually performing characteristic behaviors. Tauros paws at the ground and tosses his head back. Hitmontop winds up and does a spin. Hypno wiggles his dong nose and swings his pendant. It's not like Platinum's animations are any worse than Diamond and Pearl's or Emerald's, but for a few games now, battle animations just haven't looked good to me. They're only 2 frames, and then they just dress them up with transformations and color masks, but they have none of the personality that Crystal's sprites had. A lot of them just bounce around like assholes or vibrate nonsensically. Making your electric Pokemon blink yellow just doesn't look as good as Elekid's prongs glowing with sparks in his Gen 2 animation. So anyway, a few Earthquakes trivialize Volkner for the badge. Like Byron, I found this late-game gym to be much easier than the early ones. There's a new scene to claim our Waterfall HM. Bryson acknowledges that we're the better trainer, as encouragement that he had better see us at the Pokemon League. And Jasmine admires our dynamic enough to hand us Waterfall. It sure is convenient that Jasmine's here to do that right before we need it. How do the other ace trainers all get to Victory Road? The logistics of getting this HM seem like a tougher challenge than any gym fight has. Well, I do grab some minor waterfall loot, but there's some major waterfall loot added in Platinum version too. Inside Mount Coronet, we can now reach a chamber with the Adamant and Lustrous orbs. And because we were warped from Distortion World directly to Send-Off Spring earlier, I never got the chance to loot Dragon Claw from the exit passage. Evil Larry comes with Dragon Claw though, so no big deal. It's up Route 223 next to face a gaggle of water trainers. I'm enjoying pulping them all with Wood Hammer, but boy, the recoil hurts after a couple opponents. I hand Fairness a Shell Bell to help recuperate some of the hit point cost of hammering. Then, as I fight through Victory Road toward the Elite Four, I want to keep with tradition and give my team a report card on their performance so far. Fairness was very strong early on, with Razor Leaf carrying me all the way until Earthquake. Learning Bite felt random, except it was necessary for beating Fantina, and now he's souped up with Crunch and Woodhammer. With excellent coverage and power, this is the strongest starter Pokemon I have ever raised. M3 Stufart was awful when we got him and took a lot of TM investment. Once he gained Toxic and Rest, which do come pretty early in this game, he's been capable of winning battles, but I still tend to send out others who can close fights faster. Using him is fun though, I enjoy doing it, and I'm able to rely on him for some opponents where I don't have a better answer, but I can't truthfully say that Stufart has been strong. Clarence isn't here anymore, but he deserves a ranking. An XP pit early on, and still took a long time to fully evolve despite Platinum moving everyone else's evolution items earlier. But in the mid-game there, using same type Hyper Beams, Clarence did some damage. At Togekiss, he was super powerful, but I can never claim he had good coverage thanks to being stuck with 2 HMs. Pedialyte similarly caused headaches until I threw in the towel and bought him Hyper Beam. Waiting till level 36 for Aurora Beam is way too long for Vaporeon to go without a good special attack. Because I cheesed him early Ice Beam though, he's been handling fights very well. I often use Pedialyte as a neutral defender for foes like Kadabra, who thanks to Focus Blast now have coverage on the rest of my team, and that's been valuable. Ballerina, even as a Lickitung, came in strong relative to my sad team. The excellent early TMs Platinum gives you, plus a wide menu with the Shard Tutor, allowed Ballerina to contribute early on, and ever since evolving, her stats are solid. She came early enough that Return is doing great damage by now when I'm not using a coverage move. Virginia, like Pedialyte, has pretty late access to good moves unless you bridge that gap with TMs. Patching her early with Fire Blast and Hyper Beam, aided by a Wide Lens, has kept her very strong all game though. Feint Attack took a while to come in, and it's still her best dark move, so she's mostly been acting as a pure fire type for me who happens to look emo. And Evil Larry is also like edgy Pedialyte. Dragon and Ghost moves aren't doing much for coverage, so he's basically been a neutral attacker with a gigantic body. The Elite Four is where his 2 types become most relevant though, so he'll probably increase in value from here. Overall, probably the strongest team that I've run through any of these games with, and I do believe that is kind of the point of Pokemon Platinum. A couple of move changes happened for the team during Victory Road. A lot, actually. This team has a lot of shakeups. Virginia learns Flamethrower at level 48. Now I'm still addicted to Fire Blast, so I keep that and just overwrite Hyper Beam to have both fire moves. The Stone Edge TM I gave to Stufart over the Ancient Power he's been rocking for a while. His attack move really doesn't matter though, it's just something to click on while Toxic does its job. I sidegrade Larry's Dragon Claw into Dragon Pulse via TM. Ballerina dings 49 to learn Power Whip, which is physical grass-type Fire Blast. It adds some coverage she doesn't have, so I took it over Rollout. Then maybe the most important change, almost out the back exit, is the Dark Pulse TM for Virginia. Finally, a properly powerful Dark Attack. As I distributed my few rare candies to the team before fighting the Elite Four, Stufart wanted to learn Iron Head. Steel type is awful as coverage, and he's rarely going to be fast enough to use the flinch effect, but 15 PP is actually a big improvement over 10 since, like I said, his attack move is mostly just filler, so I threw away Stone Edge after not really touching it for Iron Head. Once at the league, Bryson ambushes us inside the gates. His darn close combat bird forces me to use Pedialyte instead of Ballerina, but he just U-turns his Roserade into the path of my bullet. Then he sends Infernape? This guy does not understand type matchups, gets surfed. He U-turns the bird again into Snorlax, and I don't have a good switch, so I just keep Ice Beaming and luck into the freeze. The third time we see the bird, I just have to send Evil Larry to do dragon things. Then against his Floatzel, I send Ballerina expecting to Thunderbolt until I remembered I have Power Whip now and that might make the difference. Ooh, I like this move. And Heracross just loses to Fly. That's our rival handled. Let's fight the actual Elite Four now. Everyone's arenas are way cooler than in Diamond and Pearl. They're thematically tailored to each elite. And their levels have been decreased by a fair bit. Like my whole party matches Aaron's champion and we're mostly flush with Bertha's whole team. Platinum got more ruthless with not only enemy AI, but the species of enemy teams too, so maybe the lower levels are a concession to that. A smart 55 Espeon is more dangerous than a dumb 59 Girafarig. Aaron's Yanmega tried to double team, but M3 stuck the Toxic and commenced stalling. Unfortunately, Aaron eventually full restored, meaning I have to try and stick another Toxic after Yanmega's done a few more double teams, but I land it pretty fast and rest stall my way for the win. Larry flies Heracross, then Drapion has coverage on most of my team, so I leave in Larry, who tanks Ice Fangs well enough and wins in 3 Dragon Pulses. Sizor is burnt by Virginia, then since Vespiquen can get shifty with defense and healing, I reprised Stufart for toxicity and got there through another full restore. Toxic stalling actually works pretty well against a lot of Elite Four opponents. Bastiodon defends pretty well at the end of the game. Bertha comes second. She leads Whiscash, that's for fairness to hammer down. Gliscor eats an Ice Beam, Golem eats a Woodhammer, Rhyperior eats a Woodhammer. I'm just having fun with it at this point. But for Hippowdon, I'm forced to have Pedialyte tag out my hurting fairness, and 1 Surf is enough to win. Bertha is a whole lot of nothing. Flint's initial Houndoom is a little scary, but he does spend a turn making Sunlight, which lets Ballerina win in 2 Quakes. Infernape during the Sunshine though, that's scary. I send in Evil Larry to take him off fighting moves, and I'm pleased the Flare Blitz damage isn't much even in the sun. Plus, using Fly helps waste Sunny Day turns, and I beat Infernape as the sun turns off pretty cleanly. Flareon I give to Pedialyte, and he misses the Will-O-Wisp. The AI is so smart though. Flareon knows it's going down this turn and tears through my hit points with Giga Impact, no longer concerned with the need to rest next turn. Rapidash comes next, probably to try and sneak Solar Beams against Pedialyte. He sets up Sunlight as Surf gets him low, so I switch Larry to resist the Solar Beam, but he uses Flare Blitz against what would have been a Vaporeon. Do they input read, or did Flint predict my switch, or was Flare Blitz just a bad call? I don't know. Larry goes with Shadow Force to burn off Sunlight turns, and unfortunately for Rapidash, he tries bouncing in a way that gets blanked while my attack is the one that lands for lethal. Flint's final Magmortar is scary, but I've blown his full restores by now. I send out M3 for Toxic, which takes 2 turns to land, meaning I don't get to cook it for 3 more turns while I rest. So it's Virginia for Dark Pulses, and since I do outspeed him, I'm praying for a flinch. That doesn't come, but it's enough damage in tandem with Toxic to grab the win before Virginia goes down, and that is Flint handled. Lucion's fight starts out well. His Mime sets up a Reflect and Light Screen while Ballerina just keeps on returning, but this is a fine investment. It makes him blow a full restore, and by the time I finally win, Reflect turns have ended. Gallade's fighting moves are scary though, so I have Larry come in for Ominous Wind. During Light Screen, I'm not expecting big damage, I happen to crit, but a stat up might allow Larry to sweep. Now I probably should have gone with Shadow Force because 2 more turns of Ominous Wind takes me more damage than I wanted to, but eventually we get Gallade down. Espeon is scary against a lot of Pokemon, but Steel-type resisting Psychic is delicious to me. Toxic and Shenanigans beat Espeon without issue. Big Boss Bronzong needs Fire, which we do have, then Alakazam causes problems. A critical Psychic ends Larry, and I overestimated Virginia's speed. Focus Blast kills her. Fairness is actually my only option here. After surviving 1 massive Psychic, Crunch, which I almost never use, is kept around for exactly this reason. Get this Alakazam out of here. And that is the normal Elite Four done. We still have to fight the very nice woman who's been mentoring us through the second half of the game, the champion Cynthia. Cynthia leads with a no weakness Spiritomb, but it's not poison type. Toxic from M3 is delectable here, cause we resist all of her moves quite well. With help from an Iron Head after waking up from a rest, Cynthia's first Pokemon goes down. Lucario is able to one-hit KO most of my team, but it's easy to knock out itself if we can get a turn. Fairness has enough bulk to live through an Aura Sphere and counter Earthquake. We can't easily handle a second Aura Sphere Pokemon though. Cynthia's Togekiss is a big problem for the team. This thing ends up beating Evil Larry in an exchange of blows, but he did make headway lowering its hit points. There's no room for mercy now. Virginia trots out Fire Blast to make sure this thing does not live. Good riddance. Melodic's Ice Beam puts Fairness at risk, and Mirror Coat could hurt me back if I attempt Thunderbolts. But gigantic slugs from Power Whip on Ballerina, who does tank Melodic's counterattacks well, are my key to winning here. I kept Pedialyte in mint condition on purpose until now to Ice Beam Garchomp, who would be scary without a healthy ice user, and then her remaining Roserade knocks a big chunk out of Virginia with a Sludge Bomb before it's my turn to Fire Blast back and claim the win. And then we save the game for like a minute straight. The postgame of Diamond and Pearl was already excellent. In Platinum, it's still excellent, plus an Emerald-style Battle Frontier, plus we get a cute little house. First though, there's a bunch of minor content. We get the National Pokédex, and Swarm and Radar Pokemon are now available. I'd say that matters less now because Platinum did a better job putting Pokemon in the main game, but it's not really like I used Diamond and Pearl's post-game encounter methods either. Meet Oak again at the Pal Park, just so we can meet Oak again in Eterna City for our third upgrade, but also something new. This final Professor Oak encounter sets the Generation 1 legendary birds roaming throughout Sinnoh. Well, alright. Visiting Full Moon Island to cure the Nightmare Kid is the same as Diamond Pearl, but I like the idea of Cresselia keeping the birds company while they all roam loose together. Visiting Turnback Cave post-game is not new to Platinum because we already have Giratina. But if we visit again, in the final room is the stable portal back to Distortion World. With a short walk then, we can pick up the Greasius Orb to let Evil Larry keep his origin form while in the normal world. Now, I don't care too much about how this affects his stats, but it powers up both of his main move types, and it changes his ability to levitate, which is a big deal. Also new, because we grabbed those 2 orbs in Mount Coronet earlier with Waterfall, speaking to Cynthia's grandmother reveals more about those orbs and unlocks Dialga and Palkia encounters at the Spear Pillar. If you've been watching my videos, you know I like to go execute my legendaries if they're not planned for the team. Fairness Earthquakes to beat Dialga, and Larry gets in a super effective slugfest with Palkia but emerges on top. There's still that long companion section with Marley out the eastern Victory Road branch that's now unblocked. I was fighting in the fog for a while until it got too annoying. Then I taught Evil Larry defog just to put an end to the constant, "Hey man, just wanted you to remember it's still foggy," messages that were slowing down combat and making me miss a lot. Marley's Arcanine is level 59 this time, up from 57, and like in Diamond, I took this as a suggestion for what my team levels should be in the postgame. Repels are not going to keep working if I don't grind a little, so I spend some time here after defeating the trainers, enjoying the free heals, and leveling the team to 59 on wild encounters before depositing Marley. Once she's gone, I can go back and loot the leftovers, which makes Stufart even more unkillable. Would have loved to see these sooner, considering everything else the game threw at us. Their power level is now more in line with things we got in the middle of the game. Then Route 224 back outside is nothing special, for me. Platinum version, unlike Diamond and Pearl, had a way to access another path at the end of Route 224 and do some mythical Pokemon thing, but I never had access to anything like that, so we're done here. In fact, we're done on the continent. Let's zip over to the battle zone and see what's new in the battle-ier part of the postgame. Instead of leading off by meeting Buck, who kind of sucked, our adventure starts with a companion double battle alongside Bryson against Flint and Volkner. This battle is kind of tough, especially once they send out Magmortar and Electivire, but it's very fun. I would not mind another few tough companion battles in future games. Afterward, my favorite change is that Buck is no longer a D-bag copy of our rival. He's a level-headed, actual person who invites us to join him for training at Stark Mountain. It's a complete personality change and a welcome one. He was very similar to our rival before. I guess we can head that way to meet him. I decided to start up Route 225 this time after I had begun counterclockwise in Diamond version just for the change of pace. There's not much changed on Route 225 here, but once I passed the survival area, Platinum's third and final shard move tutor is a guy who existed, but did absolutely nothing in Diamond and Pearl. He was just living alone on a conspicuous house on a cliff, but he had no content. Now, this man has a few strong moves available, but they do come much too late to have an impact on my team planning. Maybe if you were planning to run double battles in the battle zone and wanted Heat Wave for that or something. On Route 226, I brought along that Finneon to again trade for the German man's Magikarp, Fappa. It's our final trade of the game, and ranking the trades like I usually do won't make sense here because they are the exact same as in Diamond and Pearl. The only differences were needing to evolve Meditite ourselves and having to catch Buizel Happer out sooner in order to complete all the trades. Of course, I believe the trades should have been changed. Every previous third game changed the trades, and it's such a small tweak compared to everything else that was added. I mean, even Ball Guy in Orberg was changed to ask to see a Geodude instead of Zubat. I could understand the attitude of, well, we gave them so many new Pokemon to play with, they don't need 4 more new trades too, but I don't care for that. Instead of Abra, Chatot, Haunter, Magikarp, just give us Happiny, Wingull, Claydol, and Yanma. That still sticks to species we see in the game and lets us play with some of the new evolutions. There, I fixed the trades in 30 seconds. I passed through the Sandstormy Route 228 to reach the Old Hermit, who teaches the ultimate moves to our fully evolved starter Pokemon, and this is the first time on a run that I've ever had an eligible starter Pokemon with me when I reach this guy. Too bad these moves are all special attacks, and Fairness is firmly in the physical camp. Whoops, maybe next time. More interesting is the other old man out here who's apparently Cyrus's grandfather. Cyrus's parents sounded ultra strict, like they drove him too hard. His grandpa feels guilty that leaving Cyrus in that environment harmed his development as a child, and he beats himself up that he didn't intervene. I wonder if this man is familiar with current events and that Cyrus did in fact turn out evil because he didn't step in? This is a heavy theme for a Pokemon game. Well, at the bottom of Route 228, the resort area holds something happier. It sounds like Stephen of Hoenn bought a villa here, lived in it for a little while as he collected rare stones in Sinnoh, then peaced out, leaving it in the hands of this guy who can't keep up with it, so he's passing it off to us. Heck yeah, I'll take a house. The one sad thing is we don't get to place the furniture Animal Crossing style. We can just order pieces that get placed into preset spots. And don't expect to just buy out the catalog. Each piece is expensive. But you know why that's great? Pokemon has never had a post-game money sink. This is the first time we've had a reason to care about money once we've beaten the Elite Four. I grabbed a bed so we could spend nights here, and then wasn't able to afford anything else just now. NPCs like our friends and the gym leaders will come visit our house daily, but it's just for flavor. And there's a creepy swimming guy in town who says that something big lurks in the water here, but it's just Magikarps. You can get a level 100 one, but just Magikarps. What's the deal with these double battles where one of the opponents keeps turning their gaze away? Is it supposed to be a prize for us to earn the double battle and Pokemon is making us work for it? Or do they look away in case we're afraid of double battles and prefer to make them single, ignoring the fact that we could always just speak to one of them from the side if that's what we wanted? It's annoying when they look away just as you step in with your carefully chosen partners in party slots 1 and 2 when you're forced into a single battle, especially if the one you would have preferred to have in a battle of 1 was accidentally the guy you had in second place. Anyway, we've completed the loop of routes around the island, so it's time to head up Route 227 and tackle the Stark Mountain plot. Crasher Wake was randomly up here in Diamond and Pearl with our rival, but that scene actually makes sense now with the whole Bryson making Crasher Wake his mentor story. A few steps further and we encounter Buck up here training like he said. Instead of wanting to heist the Magma Stone, this time he's worried about protecting it since he heard Team Galactic is poking around. Well, poking around is an understatement. One step inside the mountain and there's a full galactic conference happening between Charon, Mars, Jupiter, and 2 grunts. After Mars and Jupiter battle and lose to us one more time, they're tired of being in Team Galactic with Cyrus now gone, and they decide to go be normal girls, which is a laughable concept. And Charon's over here salty that everyone's abandoning him. They were only in Team Galactic because they admired Cyrus. Now Charon's trying to run the business with a terminal lack of charisma. He leaves to go grab the Magma Stone, planning to hold the region hostage under threat of volcanic eruption in exchange for plain old cash. It's a much more believable evil plot than creating a new world. Stark Mountain as a dungeon got a pretty reskin in Platinum version. Instead of plain cave flavor, it's now glowing red. Certainly feels more fiery. Once we step into the main cavern, Buck joins us to fight alongside his clay doll. There's a nice selection of high-level trainer fights in here that are pretty fun. Then, once we reach the Bat Cave that contains the Magma Stone, the game-long Charon and Looker plot. Remember Looker? It's been a while. He pops out of disguise, snatches the Magma Stone back from Charon, and has the police ready outside to arrest Charon for extortion. The scene is really goofy and lighthearted. It breaks the tension completely from what seemed like it would be a final boss fight. The good guys step outside, then Buck runs to replace the Magma Stone, invites us to his house in the survival area, and everyone leaves. So before we go applauding Platinum for adding the Looker and Charon and a whole new storyline, mind that it amounted to maybe 6 scenes throughout the game, completely non-interactive, no new battles or loot, and it's not all additive because this last bit replaced the former plot about Buck stealing the Magma Stone. I think the new plot feels slightly lazy. At least there should have been a Charon boss fight, or one with Looker when he mistakes us for bad guys earlier on. Fly to Buck's house now, a building in the survival area that had been locked earlier, and we're invited into his grandfather's private club called The Battleground. All the gym leaders and the companions from throughout the game are eligible to show up here and offer battles with the selection rotating daily. I had Gardenia, Volkner, Candace, and I didn't recognize the last one at first. That's Cheryl from the Eterna Forest. Battling each of them again was fun, and it's cool we have new options for endgame leveling that aren't just grinding out Elite Four reps. Make sure to speak to Buck's grandpa, cause that causes Heatran to be battleable if we go to the Magma Stone room again. I go. He's only level 50 this time. He dies. And that's all the campaign differences in Platinum version covered, save for a final Elite Four rematch if we so desire. For now, it's time to hit up the Battle Frontier. There are 5 facilities here, down from Emerald 7, but that doesn't strike me as a downgrade. They kept the best ones and got more focused. What I care about is that they kept the factory, which is the fun one where you rent Pokemon and you can swap them between rounds. It's vaguely roguelike. Platinum lets you take on the factory in double battle mode. We still only rent 3 Pokemon though, meaning we'll see at least 2/3 of our team in every round. I started with a Lilip, a Drifloon, and a Finneon with pretty devious movesets. I won 7 battles with that starter team, 7 more, then 7 more. My team on the final run was lethal, Magmar and a really fast Primeape up front, swapping around my 3rd Pokemon most rounds to avoid messing up that strong starting O-line. But after winning my 3rd streak, there was no Frontier Brain battle. To my sadness, I discovered you don't get to challenge the Frontier Brains in double battle mode, and I'm not particularly motivated to do all that again just to fight the brain. So I'm happy to call it here, noting that double battles extend the life of the Battle Frontier significantly, and there's a lot more time a player could happily spend here than the simpler battle zone in Diamond and Pearl. Whew. I had a great time playing Pokemon Platinum, but it did not start out that way. This game is difficult out of the gate, and I'm not mad at that. It's that we don't get the tools to meet this higher difficulty until a little way through the game. But then we get access to a bunch of power in a short time span, and the rest of the game can be super easy. The difficulty curve is inverse, and there's not an easy solution for that, but I do think they could have eased off the gas pedal early on. I'm not sure they needed to reduce the levels of the Elite Four either. They could have kept those so that the end game was still hard. The latter half of the game was really fun for power gaming through, though. We have more species available than ever, with good access to TMs and new move tutors, and earlier evolution items. If you wanted Pokemon to feel more advanced mechanically without having to get into mods or challenge runs, Platinum is the game for you. Many of the Gen 4 Pokemon weren't even playable until the postgame in Diamond and Pearl in a way that negatively reminded me of Gold and Silver. Platinum did a better job giving out those species to play with earlier. You could argue mixing more species into the encounter tables might dilute the feeling of each route as an ecosystem. Like, imagine instead of 4 25% encounters, a route had 25 different 4% encounters. It would be a mess. There is a point at which that becomes true, but I don't think Platinum quite got there. This is easily the most different that a 3rd game re-release has ever been. So much more confidently than with Yellow, Crystal, or Emerald can I say that Platinum is worth playing for those who have already played Diamond and Pearl. As a corollary to that, though, Gen 4 also has the most reasons that a person might still want to play Diamond and Pearl over Platinum. The gym order is different, the whole design of 3 of the gyms is different. I personally think Maylene's is better in Diamond and Pearl, and Gardenia's is only a side grade. Getting to play with Hidden Power at the start of the game was cool in Diamond and Pearl, and that's something Platinum gave up. And of course, Diamond and Pearl are more relaxed. I'd feel more comfortable doing a challenge run or playing with Pokemon just because I like them in Diamond and Pearl. Platinum is more demanding in a way that encourages you to plan out your team for strength. As far as the writing changes, I don't love everything Platinum did, but I love some of them, and I'm glad that the team bothered to shake things up. There's the Charon and Looker crime plot, the Rival and Crasher Wake thing, the new scenes with Cyrus and his expanded motivations. There's also some minor new characterization of Professor Rowan and Dawn, and a bit more of a mentorship role between the player and Cynthia that I liked that reminded me of Lance helping us during Generation 2. And we can't let Platinum off the hook for leaving the in-game trades untouched. I got nothing more to say here, I'm just still sulking. Those have been my favorite part of this series. Justice for my boy Gaspar. Thank you so much for watching my long Pokemon video, or videos if you're a returning viewer. I got many more hours of Pokemon content on the channel, with more coming out every few weeks if you'd like to subscribe and stick around for those. Thank you kindly to my patrons who keep the lights on here and make it possible for me to spend my time on this content for y'all. Patrons get monthly updates on the channel, plus exclusive channel access in the Mothia Discord server, and of course, the chance to make me call my Pokemon Stufart all run long. Links are below if you'd like to support, and we have a lovely Discord community that is free for everyone as well. Of course, I'm only 2/3 of the way done with Generation 4 now, so look for you-know-what coming soon. Until next time, peace out, Girl Scout.